Oh man, you know what's been blowing my mind lately? I've been diving into some stuff that's way outside my usual lane. I'm not talking about the regular science journals or wild UFO theories. I went down a totally different rabbit hole, dude. And this one? It led me straight into the Quran. Yeah, and I stumbled across something that just stopped me in my tracks. The most honored, most powerful woman mentioned in the entire Quran? Maryam. That's Mary, the mother of Jesus. In Arabic, she's called Maryam bint Imran. And here's the thing. Most people in the West don't see that coming. They've got these assumptions about Islam that women are sidelined or not given importance. But when you actually open the Quran, it's the opposite. There's literally an entire chapter named after her, Surah Maryam. You don't even get that in the Bible, man. There's no book of Mary in the Bible. But in the Quran, boom, a whole chapter. And it's not just a passing mention, bro. The Quran elevates her in a way that's unreal. She's described as one of the greatest humans of all time. Not just women, but humans. There's this verse that says, "And Allah chose you, purified you, and chose you above the women of all the worlds." Dude, above the women of all the worlds. That's beyond honor. That's legendary status. And what gets me is, she wasn't a queen, she wasn't wealthy, she didn't lead armies or have political power. What she had was faith, raw, unshakable spiritual conviction. And the level she had it at? Most of us can't even wrap our heads around it. Think about her time. She shows up pregnant, unmarried, in a society that would not just judge you. It could literally get you killed. Today, people might not blink at different lifestyles, but back then, that was a death sentence. Shame, isolation, whispers, judgment. And what does she do? She retreats. She prays. She holds on to the words given to her by God, that this child was a miracle, that it was part of a bigger plan. Then the people confront her, ready to tear her apart verbally and socially. And instead of defending herself, she stays silent. She points to her newborn son, and baby Jesus, as an infant, speaks and defends her. That's in the Quran, man. That's next level. I mean, imagine the faith it takes to say nothing, to trust that God himself will clear your name. I was telling Jamie the other day, dude, pull that up. There's this part in Surah Maryam where she says, "I wish I had died before this." That's raw. That's not weakness. That's real human struggle. She's overwhelmed by the weight of shame society is putting on her. And what's beautiful? The Quran doesn't hide that. It honors it. It shows the struggle, the tears, the doubt. And still, she's honored as one of the greatest. And here's another wild fact. Maryam is the only woman mentioned by name in the entire Quran. Others are referred to indirectly, like the wife of Pharaoh or the wife of Noah. But Maryam gets named. Her story is told in detail. That's deliberate. That's the Quran saying, pay attention. This isn't about gender politics. It's about the quality of the soul. It's about strength in the face of impossible, odds and the respect. It's not just from Muslims. Christians honor her too. But in Islam, the respect goes deeper, way deeper. In a world obsessed with money, fame, and followers, the Quran points to a young woman who was rejected, pregnant, and alone, and says, "This is greatness." That flips the whole idea of what power means. And you know me, I've had scientists, monks, survivors, warriors on the podcast, and the common thread is always resilience. And Maryam, she embodies resilience. She doesn't fight with fists. She doesn't go on social media and post quotes. She prays, she trusts, she stands firm when the whole world doubts her. And dude, I don't care what faith you follow or if you follow none at all, you have to respect that. See, the Quran is telling us that real strength isn't about muscles or bank accounts. It's internal. It's being able to hold your ground when everyone else is against you. And that's not just a Muslim story. It's a human story. Everyone's been misunderstood. Everyone's been judged. Everyone's felt alone, and Maryam's message is, if your soul is right, if your heart is pure, if you stay connected to the truth, you've already won. Now here's the part that made me stop reading for a second and just think. Maryam isn't just some historical figure in a religious text. She's a template. She's what spiritual strength looks like. She didn't have clout. She didn't have money. She had faith, sacrifice, discipline, and purpose. She was chosen. She was tested. And she came out of it not as a victim, but as the vessel for one of the most miraculous events in human history. And here's something else. You know how lineage is usually traced through men? Not in this case. In the Quran, Jesus is referred to as Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, the son of Mary, not son of Joseph, not son of a carpenter, no, son of Mary. That's God saying, remember the woman who raised him. That's divine recognition. And bro, her silence, that's not weakness. That's power under control. You ever meet someone who doesn't talk much, but when they do, it's pure truth? That's her. She didn't waste words. And when she did speak, it was deep. And it hit me. How much of our energy do we waste explaining ourselves to people who will never understand? Maryam didn't do that. She let her truth speak for itself. She let God's plan unfold. And that's something for men to learn from, too. We think strength means never crying, never showing emotion. But she shows that being emotional, crying out to God, that's not weakness. That's connection. That's trust. I'm not a scholar, bro. I'm just a guy reading, thinking, trying to live better. But reading about her made me realize greatness doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a spotlight. It needs faith, patience, and surrender. And man, that's rare today. Even now, across the Muslim world, little girls are named Maryam. Not because she was famous, but because she was faithful. And that's a different kind of legacy. Fame fades. Faith echoes through generations. Every time a parent names their daughter Maryam, it's like a prayer that she grows up with even a fraction of that strength. And we need more of that in our world right now. More quiet strength. More connection to something bigger than ourselves. More faith that the pain we're going through has a purpose. That the isolation, the tears, the struggle, they're not the end. They're the preparation. And I'll be real with you. I didn't expect to be moved like this by a chapter in the Quran. But it hit me harder than any guest on my show, harder than any motivational speech, because it's not hype. It's not marketing. It's raw. It's timeless. So if you're feeling invisible, forgotten, like you're not making an impact, remember Maryam. She was chosen. She was honored. She was alone, but never abandoned. And maybe what you're going through right now is just the setup for something big you can't see yet. Stay strong, shake the tree, keep walking, even when it's just you on the road. You have no idea what's waiting at the end of your patience. You know, man, the more I kept reading, the more I realized Maryam's story isn't just about faith. It's about endurance, real, grinding endurance, the kind where every single day feels like you're carrying a mountain on your back. And here's the kicker. She didn't get through it because everything got easier. She got through it because she got stronger. Think about it. She's this young woman, known for her devotion to worship. She's literally raised in the house of God under the care of a prophet, Zachariah, A.S. And one day she's visited by an angel. Not just any angel, Gabriel, the same angel who brought revelation to prophets. And he tells her, you're going to have a child. Now pause right there. You're Maryam, you've never been with a man, you're known for your purity, and an angel is telling you you're about to be a mother? Bro, what's your reaction? Most people would freak out. And she does ask, how can I have a child when no man has touched me? But Jibril tells her, it is so. God creates what he wills. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it, be, and it is. That's a big deal. In one verse, the entire human understanding of impossible gets flipped on its head. And you see her, she accepts it. Not because she understands how it's all going to work, but because she trusts the one who told her. And man, this is where the test begins. She leaves her home. She's all alone. No family, no comfort, no Instagram followers sending her stay strong messages. Just her, in a remote place, going through the pain of labor. And the Quran paints this scene in such a human way. She's in agony. She's holding on to a palm tree, crying out, "I wish I had died before this." That line hit me, bro. It's so real. It's not sugar-coated. This is a woman of unmatched faith saying she wishes she could just disappear. That's not weakness. That's the weight of carrying something the world can't understand. That's being human. And here's the miracle. In that moment, God provides for her. Water flows beneath her. Fresh dates drop from the palm tree. It's like the universe saying, "I know you're at your limit. Here's what you need to keep going." And I thought, how many times in life do we get to that breaking point, ready to give up, and something, some small thing, shows up just in time to keep us moving? For her, it was water and dates. For us, maybe it's a phone call from a friend, a stranger's kind word, or just waking up the next day with enough strength to try again. Then she goes back to her people, holding her newborn. And here's the wild part. She's been instructed not to speak. Imagine that. You know the truth. You know this child is a miracle. And people are accusing you of the worst possible thing. And God tells you, don't say a word. Bro, that's next-level restraint. You and I, we'd be defending ourselves, writing posts, calling people out, hiring PR teams. But Maryam? She just points to the baby. And then the baby speaks. Yeah, you heard that right. In the Quran, baby Jesus speaks in the cradle. First words? Declaring that he's a servant of God, that he's been given a book, and that he's a prophet. Boom. Her name is cleared. And not by her own words, but by the miracle itself. And man, there's a lesson in that. Sometimes you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain yourself to people who've already decided what they believe about you. Just let your truth, your actions, and God's timing speak for you. And here's something that really got me thinking. In Islam, Maryam is considered the best woman to have ever lived. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, even said, "Many men have attained perfection, but among women, none attained perfection except Maryam, the daughter of Imran, and Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh." That's a short list, bro, and Maryam's right there at the top. Now think about the qualities that put her there. Faith, purity, patience, courage, obedience to God, even when it made her life harder, not easier. That's rare. And in today's world, those qualities aren't just rare. They're almost countercultural. Society tells us strength is loud, flashy, in your face. But her strength was quiet, deep, immovable. And what I love is how universal her story is. You don't have to be Muslim to be inspired by her. You don't even have to be religious. Her life is proof that honor doesn't come from titles, wealth, or followers. It comes from integrity, from sticking to your principles no matter the pressure. Here's something else that blew my mind. Maryam's story in the Quran isn't there as a side note. It's central. Her name is mentioned more times in the Quran than in the entire New Testament. Let that sink in. The book Muslims believe is the final revelation talks about her more than the Bible does. That's how important she is. And bro, there's a reason the chapter is named after her. The Quran could have just mentioned her in the story of Jesus and moved on, but instead, it dedicates an entire chapter to her life, her trials, her miracles. It's like saying, look, if you want to understand strength, patience, and faith, study her. And man, I started thinking, how would she be seen today? Imagine Maryam in 2025, walking into a city holding a newborn, saying nothing. She'd be trending on Twitter, on the front page of tabloids, her face on every news feed with wild rumors. And yet her reaction would probably be the same. Silence, dignity, and letting the truth unfold. That's not just old-school wisdom. That's timeless wisdom. In an age of oversharing, she teaches us the power of restraint. In an age of self-promotion, she teaches us humility. In an age of instant gratification, she teaches us patience. And it's crazy, bro, because the more I thought about her, the more I realized she's the ultimate role model not just for women, but for anyone trying to live a life of meaning. Her whole life says, it's not about what the world thinks of you. It's about what God knows about you. And that changes everything. You know, man, the more I sit with Maryam's story, the more I realize this isn't just history. This is a blueprint, a roadmap for anyone who's ever felt isolated, misunderstood, or pushed to the edge. Because here's the thing, Maryam wasn't living some easy, privileged life where everything was laid out for her. She wasn't walking around with people cheering her name. She was walking into storms. Storms that could have broken anyone else. And somehow she came out of them not bitter, not cynical, but stronger. And I keep coming back to this. She didn't just carry a child. She carried a mission. That's huge, bro. She was chosen to be part of one of the greatest events in human history, the birth of Prophet Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him. But to carry that mission, she had to, first, carry the weight of people's judgment, the loneliness of isolation, and the pain of childbirth without a single human hand there to comfort her. That's not just physical strength. That's mental, emotional, spiritual strength all working together. And what blows my mind is, she never once turns bitter towards God. She never says, "Why me? Why did you do this to me?" She accepts the mission, even when it shatters her comfort zone. And man, think about our own lives. How often do we get frustrated when something doesn't go our way? When the job doesn't come through? When the relationship fails? When the plan falls apart? We see it as punishment. But Maryam's life is screaming at us. Sometimes what feels like the hardest thing in the world is actually the thing that's going to define your purpose. And here's another thing. Her silence is one of the most powerful parts of her story. We live in a time where silence is almost suspicious. People say, "Why aren't you speaking up? Why aren't you explaining yourself?" But Maryam shows us that sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's trust. It's saying, "I don't need to prove myself to you. The truth will speak when it's time." And when baby Isa speaks in her defense, bro, that's the ultimate mic drop. That's God saying, "I got you." Now here's something that a lot of people don't notice. In the Quran, when Isa, A.S., is introduced, he's not just called Jesus, he's called Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, the son of Mary. Do you get how big that is? In a male-dominated world where lineage was always traced through the father, here's God himself, highlighting the mother's name, over and over. That's not just respect, that's divine honor. And man, when I read that, I couldn't stop thinking about how different our world would be if we honored women like that, if we recognized their role, their sacrifices, their impact, not as an afterthought but front and center. Another thing. Maryam's story is deeply tied to the concept of purity, but not in the shallow way society uses the word. It's not just about physical purity, it's about purity of intention, purity of worship, purity of the heart. That's what made her worthy of being chosen. And that's a tough standard, bro, because purity of intention means you're doing the right thing even when nobody's watching, even when there's nothing in it for you, even when the world might misunderstand you for it. That's rare. Here's a part that still shakes me. The Quran says, "O Mary, indeed Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you above the women of the worlds." Chosen twice, purified in between. Scholars say the first chosen was for her personal character and worship. The second chosen was for her mission. And that's deep, because before God gives you a big mission, He prepares you for it. And that preparation? It's usually through struggle. That made me rethink a lot, man, because maybe the struggles we're going through right now aren't random. Maybe they're training. Maybe they're building the resilience we're going to need for something bigger down the road. And Maryam's life is proof of that. Every moment of hardship was shaping her into the woman who could carry a miracle without breaking. Now, here's something else. The more I read, the more I realized her story is not just for women. It's for men, too, especially in a time when a lot of men think showing emotion is weakness. Maryam shows us the opposite. She's one of the strongest humans in history, and yet she cries out to God in her pain. She admits she's overwhelmed. She says she wishes she could disappear, and God still honors her above all women. That tells me, being vulnerable doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. It makes you human. And real strength is trusting God with your weakness. And bro, if we take that seriously, it changes how we see strength altogether. Strength isn't pretending nothing affects you. Strength is staying connected to God through the things that do. I also love how her story destroys the idea that you need recognition to have impact. She wasn't a queen. She wasn't a political leader. She wasn't out there campaigning for followers. She lived a life of worship, service, and obedience, and now her name is known and loved by billions. That's the kind of legacy that lasts. Fame fades. Influence based on hype disappears. But faith and integrity? That echoes for generations, and man, I can't get over this. Every time a Muslim says the name Isa, Jesus, they follow it with, peace be upon him, and every time they mention Maryam, it's with respect. That's built into the culture. It's built into the faith. From Indonesia to Nigeria, from Turkey to the US, the name Maryam carries honor. That's legacy, bro. That's impact without self-promotion. That's what happens when you live aligned with something bigger than yourself. And here's the takeaway I think we all need. Your struggle might be shaping a legacy you can't see yet. Maryam didn't live to see how billions would honor her. She didn't see how her name would become a symbol of purity, faith, and strength across the world. She just lived her mission in the moment. That's what we're called to do. Live your mission now, even if nobody claps for you. Stay aligned, even if the world misunderstands you. Shake the tree, even when you feel like you have nothing left. Because here's the truth, man. Maybe the thing that's breaking you right now is actually the thing that's building you. Maybe God's not ignoring you. Maybe He's preparing you, just like He prepared Maryam. And if there's one thing her story proves, it's this. You can be alone, misunderstood, doubted, even attacked, and still be chosen. Still be honored. Still be part of something world-changing. So yeah, next time life feels too heavy, remember her. Remember the water and the dates. Remember the silence. Remember the baby's voice clearing her name. And remember that even in her lowest moment, God was right there, shaping history through her. That's not just inspiration. That's a reminder that the same God who saw her sees you. Let's go.